The morning of the engagement party started with me practicing my vows in the bathroom mirror. The steam from the shower was still clearing, and my reflection looked back at me, a guy full of a hope that felt simple and true. I said the last line out loud, my voice a little echoey in the small room. I promised to choose you every single day. I smiled at myself, believing it completely. I had no idea how those words would twist and turn in the coming weeks, or that the most important choices were already being made without me. I finished getting ready, the nervous excitement sitting in my chest like a warm light. The party itself was a whirlwind of smiling faces and loud music and clinking glasses. Everyone was there. My parents beamed with pride. Her parents hugged me like I was already a son. Our friends toasted us until our cheeks hurt from grinning. She was everywhere, my fiancée, this beautiful force of nature in a stunning dress, and she clung to my arm like I was her anchor, laughing at all my jokes, even the dumb ones, whispering how much she loved me in my ear. Every time I looked at her, she was looking right back, her eyes bright. I felt like I had won the lottery. I was the luckiest man in the world, standing in the middle of a room that seemed to vibrate with our future happiness. We stayed late, talking and dancing, and by the time we stumbled back into our apartment, we were both tired and a little tipsy and deeply happy. The apartment was a mess, a preview of the wedding planning chaos to come, with fabric swatches and cake sample boxes and a giant binder, but we just kicked off our shoes and collapsed on the couch together, her head on my shoulder. That was perfect, she sighed, a sound of pure contentment. Just imagine the wedding. I kissed her hair, smelling her shampoo, and I could imagine it. I could see it all. That is why what happened next felt like the floor dropping out from under me. It was a few nights later. We were ordering pizza, surrounded by the same wedding clutter. She was scrolling through her phone, making lists. I was trying to figure out if we could afford the fancy DJ she wanted. Out of nowhere, without even looking up from her screen, she said it. "Oh, I finalized it with my work friend today. He's going to walk me down the aisle." I blinked, the pizza menu suddenly blurry in my hands. "Wait, what? Your dad is going to be right there. He is giving you away." She finally looked up, her expression calm and sure. "I know, and he will be. But my work friend, he has been my rock, my person. This is a tribute to our friendship. It will be beautiful and meaningful." A cold feeling started in my stomach. Her work friend, the guy she talked about all the time, the one she had inside jokes with, the one she texted constantly, the one she called her work husband, as a joke that never felt completely like a joke. "You want your work husband to walk you down the aisle?" I asked, my voice tighter than I meant it to be. Her smile did not fade, but it changed. It became the kind of smile you use on a child who does not understand. "See, that is the insecure thing I was worried about. It is a beautiful gesture for a cherished friend. I thought you, of all people, would understand that." And just like that, with a few perfectly chosen words, my gut feeling of wrongness was taken out of my hands. It was no longer about her action. It was now a problem with my character. My concern was a flaw. My discomfort was me being small. I did not know what to say. The argument that followed was circular and frustrating. Every time I tried to explain how it made me feel, she would reframe it. She said I did not trust her. She said I was trying to control her friendships. She said if I loved her, I would want her to be happy. I felt myself getting dizzy, my own logic twisting back on me. To stop the spinning feeling in my head, to make the tension in the room go away, I made a choice. I looked at her and I surrendered. "You are right," I said, the words ash in my mouth. "I am sorry. I am being insecure." I said it to keep the peace. She immediately brightened, crossing the room to kiss me. "Thank you for understanding," she whispered against my lips. "This is why you are the one I am marrying." The kiss felt wrong. Her tender words felt like a lie. A cold shiver went down my back even as I held her. But you cannot unplant a seed. Once the doubt was there, it started to grow, fed by little things I had ignored. I began to remember a work event from a month before. I had gone to pick her up. I saw them standing by the bar, away from the crowd. Their heads were tilted close together, deep in conversation. Her hand was on his arm, not a casual tap, but resting there, a familiar and intimate gesture. And the smile on her face was private, soft, a version of her I realized I had not seen directed at me in a long time. Back then, I had shrugged it off. Now the memory played in my mind with new, horrible clarity. It was not brotherly. It was not just friendly. It was something else. My quiet worry did not stay quiet for long. At the wedding cake tasting a week later, one of her bridesmaids, a woman who had always been sweet to me, pulled me aside. I thought she was going to offer me a sympathetic ear. Instead, she put a hand on my arm and gave me a look that was supposed to be kind but felt like a scolding. "You know, you really should be more supportive of their bond," she said, her voice low. "It is so special. It is a healthy, modern friendship. You being weird about it just creates drama." I just nodded numb. My own best friend, the guy who was supposed to be my rock, called me after he heard about the disagreement. "Buddy, listen," he said, sounding uncomfortable. "Maybe you are reading into this a little. She is marrying you, man. That is the big thing. Do not go looking for problems where there are not any." The message was clear from every side. I was the problem. My feelings were the issue. They created a wall of agreement that made me feel completely alone, and worse, crazy. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe this was all in my head. Life lurched forward into more planning. Dress fittings, venue visits, meetings with the florist. I played my part. I smiled. I nodded. I held her purse. But I felt like a ghost, moving through the motions of a life that was not mine anymore. The final straw, the thing that shattered the last of my trust, happened on a completely ordinary Tuesday night. She came home from work stressed, talking a mile a minute about the costs of her bachelorette party weekend, which was getting more and more extravagant. I soothed her, telling her we would figure it out, that she deserved it. It was an automatic performance. She kissed my cheek and went to take a shower, leaving her iPad on the couch, something she never did. She was usually so careful with it. I was half watching a game, the noise a dull buzz in my ears, when the screen lit up. A notification popped up. It was from him, her work friend. The preview of the message was only a fragment, but the words burned into my vision. Our future together, that was it. 3 words, but they were a universe of betrayal. My heart, which had been a dull, heavy thing in my chest for weeks, suddenly started hammering against my ribs. This was it. The proof. The line in the sand. I could ignore it. I could pretend I did not see it. I could keep walking down the easy path towards a wedding that was now a sick joke. Or I could look. I stared at the iPad. In the other room, I could hear the shower running, the water hitting the tiles. This was my point of no return. Knowing with a terrible certainty that everything was about to change, I reached out. My hand hovered for a second. Then I took a breath that felt like it went down to my shoes, and I tapped the screen. The message thread opened. My eyes, desperate and scared, scanned the text. And there it was. The first complete message I saw from her to him. It contained my name. And right after it, a single devastating word. Placeholder. The shower shut off. The sudden lack of noise in the apartment was louder than any scream. I put the iPad down exactly as I found it, my hands icy and steady. I sat back on the couch, the game still playing silently on the TV. She came out, wrapped in a towel, smiling at me. "Everything okay?" she asked. I looked at her, this stranger I was supposed to marry, and I smiled back. It was the easiest smile I had ever faked. "Everything is perfect," I said. And in that moment, with the taste of the lie sweet on my tongue, I knew what I had to do. The game was over. Now, it was time to plan my exit. The morning after I saw the message, I woke up feeling strangely calm. The awful churning in my gut was gone, replaced by a cold, clear purpose. She was still asleep, her face peaceful. I looked at her and felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness. Just a blank space where my love used to be. That blankness was my fuel. I got up, made coffee, and on my way to work, I did not go to my office. I drove to a part of town I did not know, to a small professional building with a lawyer's office on the 3rd floor. I did not need a wedding planner anymore. I needed a strategist. The lawyer was a woman older than my mother, with sharp eyes and a manner that was all business. I sat in the chair opposite her big desk, and I did not talk about my broken heart. I laid out facts. I showed her the screenshot I had taken of the message with my name and the word placeholder. I showed her our joint bank account statements. I showed her the lease for our apartment. I showed her the loan documents for the car. The lawyer listened, her fingers steepled under her chin. Her first question was not about love or betrayal. It was, whose name is on the car title? I told her it was my fiancé's name, but I had been making the payments. She nodded, making a note. And the apartment lease? Both signatures? I said yes. She asked about debts. I told her what I knew of our shared credit card. She looked at me, her gaze steady. What about debts you do not know about? That question sat with me. I left her office an hour later with a list of actions. Step 1, financial separation. Step 2, secure my own living situation. Step 3, gather evidence. This was not about saving a relationship anymore. This was a withdrawal from a partnership that had already bankrupted me emotionally. I was closing the account. My first move was secret. That evening, my fiancée came home stressed again, this time about the final payment for the wedding venue. She was fretting, twisting her hair. "It is so much money all at once," she moaned, flopping onto the couch. I sat beside her, playing my part perfectly. "Hey, do not worry about it," I said, my voice soothing. "We have saved for this. It is going to be amazing." I pulled her into a hug, feeling her relax against me. I was comforting her about the cost of the wedding she was planning with another man. The irony was so dark it was almost funny. I knew because I had just moved half of what was left in our joint savings into a new account, under only my name, that morning. The money I had painstakingly saved for our honeymoon was now my emergency fund. The guilt tried to rise up, a sharp, hot knot in my throat, but I pictured the word placeholder, and I swallowed it down. This was survival. I became an actor in my own life, and my performance was award-worthy. A few days later was her wedding dress fitting. Her mother and sisters and all the bridesmaids were there, a flutter of excitement and tissue paper. I arrived with flowers, the doting fiancée. I told her mother how incredible her daughter looked. I made polite conversation with her friends. And then her work friend arrived. He walked in like he owned the place, giving her a hug that lingered just a second too long. He made a joke about the rehearsal dinner, and everyone laughed. I smiled. I walked right up to him and clapped him on the shoulder. "Hey man, thanks for being so involved," I said, my voice cheerful. "You should definitely give a speech at the reception. Since you are such a big part of her life, it only makes sense." The room seemed to brighten. Her friends looked at me with approval. "See, he has finally come around," their faces said. My fiancée beamed at me, a look of pure triumph in her eyes. She thought she had won. She thought I had accepted my role. Little did she know, I was just clearing the stage. The work friend puffed up, pleased. "I would be honored," he said. I nodded, still smiling. Inside, I was a glacier, cold and slow and unstoppable. My performance was so convincing, I scared myself. I barely recognized the man in the mirror. The lawyer's advice was practical. I needed to untangle myself from the apartment lease without triggering alarm bells. I waited for a day when my fiancée was out with her bridal party for yet another planning lunch. Once she was gone, I got to work. Not on wedding stuff. On my investigation. I started in her home office, a little nook she used for planning and work. I was methodical, careful not to disturb anything. I checked drawers, files, folders. Everything was ordinary, boring. Then I saw the small, locked drawer on the bottom of her desk. I had never really noticed it before. A quiet instinct told me to look. I thought about where she might hide a key. I walked into our bedroom, to her jewelry box on the dresser. It was a messy, lovely collection of necklaces and earrings. I sifted through it gently, and my fingers brushed against a small, cold metal shape at the very bottom. A tiny key. I took it back to the office, my heart a steady drumbeat in my ears. It fit. The lock turned with a soft click. Inside the drawer was not wedding stuff. It was a stack of credit card statements, held together with a rubber band. They were all in her name only. I flipped through them. The purchases made my blood run cold. Dozens of charges for expensive dinners at romantic restaurants, dates I was never invited to, bills from high-end lingerie stores, things she had never worn for me. And then I found it. A receipt for a weekend hotel booking, a cozy and upstate, for 2 people. The date was from 3 months ago, a weekend she had told me she was on a work retreat. I sat back on my heels, the papers in my hand. This was more than texts. This was a secret life, funded by secret debt. She had been lying to me in every possible way. This was not just an emotional affair. This was a full-blown double life. I took photos of every page with my phone, a clear, steady record. Then I put everything back exactly as I found it, locked the drawer, and returned the key to the jewelry box. The evidence was now mine. My next move was the apartment. I needed out, and I needed her to think it was her idea, or at least not a rebellion. I made an appointment with our landlord, a tired-looking man who owned a few buildings in the city. I met him in his cramped office, which smelled of old coffee. I did not come with a sob story. I came with a business proposition. "Sir," I said, sitting across from him, "I need to be removed from the lease for our apartment." He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Son, that is not how it works. Both signers are responsible until the lease ends. You break it, you both pay the penalty." I nodded. "I understand, but I have some information that might change your mind." I laid it out calmly. I showed him on my phone the credit card statements, the massive hidden debt in her name only. She has significant financial liabilities you do not know about. I explained, my voice level. I am financially stable. But if you keep us both on the lease, you are tying your asset to her sinking ship. Or, you can let me pay the early termination fee, right now, in cash, and you can have her and her much wealthier parents sign a new lease as guarantors. They have real money. It is a safer bet for you. I slid an envelope across the table. It contained most of the cash I had withdrawn from my new secret account. He looked at the envelope, then at me, his eyes calculating. He saw the logic. He saw the cash. He took the envelope, counted it quickly, and nodded. I will have the paperwork drawn up to remove you. She and her folks will have to sign the new agreement next week. I stood up and shook his hand. Thank you. Please, for my safety, do not mention this meeting to her until the new papers are ready. He agreed. I walked out of that office feeling 10 pounds lighter. I had just bought my freedom from our shared life, and she had no idea. The final piece was the car. It was the last big financial thread connecting us. The car was in her name, but I had been making the payments for 2 years. According to the lawyer, I had a claim to it, but a messy one. A court fight would tie me to her for months. I needed a cleaner cut. The lawyer drafted a simple document. It was a transfer of responsibility, stating that I relinquished all claim to the vehicle and that she assumed full responsibility for the remaining loan. I needed her to sign it. The trick was getting her to sign without asking too many questions. I practiced my pitch in the empty new apartment I had quietly rented, a small studio across town. I would frame it as a gift, a generous act to reduce her stress before the wedding. I would say I wanted to take one big thing off her plate so she could focus on being a bride. I knew she was distracted, consumed by the wedding and her secret life. I was counting on her not looking too closely. I placed the document in my bag. The plan was set. The apartment was escaping me. The finances were being severed. All that was left was to face her, to look into the eyes of the woman I once loved, and tell the most important lie of my life. I had to be perfect. One misstep, one flicker of the cold anger I carried, and the whole careful house of cards could collapse. I took a deep breath. The next time I saw her, I would need to be the best actor I had ever been, selling her a beautiful lie while I quietly dismantled the world we built. I looked at the document in my bag, a simple piece of paper that represented my final tie to her. Getting her signature was the last step before the wedding, before the final act. I just had to stay calm, stay kind, and stay completely, utterly detached. The game was still on, and I was now 3 moves ahead. My alarm went off on the morning of my wedding day, a sharp, cheerful sound in the dark of my new studio apartment. I did not need it. I had been awake for hours, just staring at the ceiling, thinking, today, I will be the perfect groom, the perfect liar, and then I will be a ghost. I got out of bed. The apartment was small and empty, just a bed, a chair, and a few boxes of my things. It was clean. It was quiet. It was mine. I made a single cup of coffee and drank it standing by the window, watching the city slowly wake up. Today was the day I took my life back. I showered and shaved with extra care. I laid out the tuxedo I had bought, the one she had helped pick out months ago, when everything was different. I put it on slowly, each piece feeling like a costume. The crisp white shirt, the bow tie, the jacket that fit just right. I looked at myself in the small mirror on the wall. I did not see a happy groom. I saw a man preparing for a mission. My expression was calm, my eyes steady. This was it. Before I left, I packed a small bag. It was not for a honeymoon. It was a go bag. Inside was a change of comfortable clothes, my wallet, my keys, and a small, sealed envelope. In that envelope was a USB drive. On that drive were all the screenshots. The text calling me a placeholder. The credit card statements for the secret dinners and the hotel. Pictures of the lease removal paperwork and the bank transfer records. It was the story of our ending, told in cold, hard facts. I also put in the empty velvet box that was supposed to hold her wedding ring. I zipped the bag shut. My best friend, my actual best friend, who had stood by me once he learned the truth, was going to be waiting for me after everything went down. This bag was for after. I took one last look around the studio, then I walked out, locking the door behind me. I did not look back. The rehearsal dinner the night before had been its own special kind of torture. It was held in a private room at a fancy restaurant. Everyone was there, all the family and the wedding party, laughing and drinking. I smiled and shook hands and hugged people, playing my part. Then it was time for speeches. Her father gave a sweet, short one. My best man gave a funny one that had everyone laughing. Then her work friend stood up. He cleared his throat, smiling out at the room. He did not look at me once. His whole speech was directed at her. He talked about their unbreakable bond, about their secret language at work, about all the times he had been there for her. He said, "I have always been in your corner, and I always will be. I am so honored to finally step into the role I was always meant to play in your life." The room got quiet. People shifted in their seats. A few of her friends smiled, but others looked confused, glancing from him to me. My fiancée just beamed up at him, her eyes shiny with tears. She reached out and squeezed his hand. I sat perfectly still at the head table, my face a pleasant mask. When he finished, there was a beat of awkward quiet before people started clapping. I picked up my glass and raised it, clinking it gently against my fiancée's. "To cherish friends," I said, my voice clear. She looked at me, her smile so wide and triumphant it was like a punch. She thought she had everything. After the dinner, back at what was now her apartment, we had what would be our last supper together. She ordered takeout from our favorite place. She was glowing, talking a mile a minute about the next day, about how everything was going to be perfect, about our fresh start. I just nodded, agreeing with everything. "It is all going to be better after tomorrow," she said, reaching across the table to hold my hand. "I just feel it." I squeezed her hand back. "I know," I said. "A whole new beginning." Before she went to bed, I gave her a small gift box. "Something for tomorrow," I said. She opened it. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a single small diamond. It was beautiful and expensive. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh, it is gorgeous." "For my something new," she exclaimed, her eyes welling up. She threw her arms around my neck. "You are the most thoughtful man." I hugged her back, feeling the chill of the lie. The necklace was not a sentiment. It was a prop, chosen carefully to complete her perfect bridal look for the show she was about to star in. She would look absolutely stunning when her world fell apart. The morning of the wedding, after I left my apartment, my first stop was not the venue. It was a diner a few blocks away. My best friend was already there, sitting in a booth, 2 coffees steaming in front of him. He looked at me in my tuxedo and shook his head. "Man, I still cannot believe you are doing this," he said, his voice low. "You do not have to, you know. We can get in the car right now and just go. Drive somewhere. No questions asked. You can just disappear." I slid into the booth across from him. I was touched. He was the only person who knew the full plan. I took a sip of the hot, bitter coffee. "I do have to do this," I said quietly. "But not for the reason you think. I am not doing it for revenge." He looked confused. "Then why put yourself through it?" I looked out the diner window at the people walking by. "Because if I just run, she gets to control the story. She gets to tell everyone I got cold feet, that I abandoned her. She and her work friend get to be the victims. They get to have a clean slate. I need everyone to see the truth. I need to look her in the eye when the mask comes off. I am not running away. I am walking out on my own terms, and I am taking the truth with me." He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay, I have got your back. The car will be right outside the main doors when you are done." We finished our coffee. This was the last calm moment. My next stop was the wedding venue itself, a beautiful old chapel with gardens. I arrived early, before the guests, before the chaos. I needed to see the wedding coordinator, a flustered woman with a headset, and more importantly, the technician running the sound and projector for the ceremony. I found him in a back room, a guy about my age, fiddling with wires. "Hey," I said, smiling. "You are in charge of the slideshow, right? For the reception?" He looked up. "Yeah, that is me." I pulled out the USB drive from my pocket, the copy. "I have got a little surprise for my bride," I said, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. "A special slideshow. A gift. I need you to play it at a very specific time during the ceremony." I slipped him an extra $200 in cash, folded neatly. "Play it exactly when I give you the signal." A big thumbs up from me at the altar. "It is really important." The tech guy took the money and the drive, a wide grin spreading across his face. He thought he was part of a romantic gesture. "You got it, man. That is awesome. She is gonna love it." I smiled back. "I hope so." That was the point of no return. The trap was set. All I had to do was walk into it. I went to the groom's waiting room, a small, book-lined study at the side of the chapel. I could hear the guests starting to arrive, the murmur of voices, the rustle of fancy clothes. My best man came in looking pale. "Dude, this is really happening," he said, adjusting his bow tie nervously. "You ready?" I straightened my own tie in the mirror. I have never been more ready. There was a knock on the door. It was the wedding coordinator. "5 minutes," she chirped. We walked out and took our places at the front of the chapel, standing next to the officiant, a kind-faced older woman. The guests were all seated, a sea of expectant faces. Soft music began to play. The doors at the back of the chapel opened. And there she was, my fiancée. She was a vision in white, her dress breathtaking, her hair perfect, the necklace I gave her sparkling at her throat. And on her arm, not her father, but her work friend. He was in a tuxedo, standing tall, looking for all the world like the proud groom. He was beaming. She was beaming with a triumphant joy that lit up the whole room. They began their slow walk down the aisle together. As they passed, I caught his eye. He looked right at me, and he gave me a small, quick, unmistakable smirk. It was a flash of pure arrogance. It was the final confirmation. This was not in my head. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he thought he had won. I kept my face blank, a mild smile on my lips. I watched them reach the end of the aisle. Her father stepped up and gave her a kiss on the cheek, then sat down, looking a little confused. The work friend positioned her carefully next to me, giving her hand a final pat before stepping back to stand with the groomsmen, as if he belonged there. The officiant smiled warmly at us and at the guests. She began to speak about love and commitment. I was not listening. My heart was a steady, slow drum in my chest. I was perfectly calm. The officiant went through the motions. Then she turned to the crowd and asked the traditional question. Who presents this woman to be married to this man? There was a pause. The work friend stepped forward, his chest puffed out. He looked at the officiant, then at the crowd, and said loudly and clearly, "I do." A few people gasped softly. Most just looked stunned. All eyes swung to me, waiting for my reaction, expecting shock or anger. I did not give it to them. I simply stepped forward, away from my place next to my fiancée. I did not reach for her hand. I reached for the officiant's small, wireless microphone. She looked startled, but let me take it. I brought it to my lips. The sound system let out a quick, sharp squeal of feedback that made everyone flinch. And in that perfect, focused quiet, I began to speak. My voice, amplified and calm, filled the stunned chapel. "You all heard him," I said, looking out at the sea of frozen faces. He said, "I do. So since he is so eager to take on the groom's traditional role, let us talk about what I do really means." I could feel my fiancée stiffen beside me. I did not look at her. I kept my eyes on her work friend, whose smug smile had melted into confusion. I gave a single, clear nod to the technician in the back. For a second, nothing happened. Then the large screen behind us, which was supposed to show soft pictures of us as a couple later, flickered to life. The first slide was massive, impossible to miss. It was a screenshot of the text message. Her words to him. My name, followed by that one terrible word, placeholder.